Hello guys, this is Hobo, coming at you from Little Wargame. So today we got a match sent by MateTheyGrey. This is going to be a 1v1 between MateTheyGrey and Mr Pankakka. Let's see here. MateTheyGrey, rather. In the top left today we have MateTheyGrey. In the bottom right we have Mr Pankakka. Pardon me as I sip my coffee. This is going to be a less intense game, cooling it down a little bit from our previous one between Dublin and Epic Pants. These are much more intermediate to beginner level players. We have worker production ceased from Mate rather. He really should have made one more worker before he tried to get that house out. Meanwhile, Mr. Pankakka is going to get a little bit late of a house. Very late of a house. Either that or MateTheyGrey might have just queued up too many workers at once. He does have the idle worker now, not doing anything with the finished house. And we see mech play from MateTheyGrey. I believe this is the first time I cast mech play other than myself on the channel. Friendly, ooh, oh, double mech play. This is the first time we cast a mech v mech, guys. This is going to be exciting with some language I do not understand with weird characters. I'd like to take the time for a second here and say, if you guys have any interesting replays you thought were exciting, feel free to send them to me on Discord. Unfortunately, we were not able to meet the community challenge of 50 subs, but that's perfectly fine. The channel is only about a month old now, so the fact that we were able to get to 33 this quickly, I'd still take that as a win. We have a castle going down for Mr. Pankakka and MateTheyGrey. Neither of them are building an army at this point. It feels like this game is going very slowly, though. We see the first Gatlings coming out from both players. I'm curious to see if both of them transfer workers over. MateTheyGrey unfortunately does have this worker long distance mining for no reason. He also is not building any workers at current. We do see a tower coming out from MateTheyGrey. He's playing very defensively, it seems. He needs to pull this Gatling back then if he's trying to go for a defensive strat. We do see a worker transfer coming from Mr. Pankakka. No worker transfer from MateTheyGrey yet. I strongly encourage you guys to send replays over. We do have a mill coming out, so we're going to see some airplay from MateTheyGrey. In the meantime, some scouting from Mr. Pankakka. I would say Mr. Pankakka should try to, instead of doing this opening, he should try to take this forward base. It's a little bit safer. It also is harder for him to take this base afterwards, and it means that if Mate's on top of his scouting, he's going to be able to check when Mr. Pankakka gets a third. Very important knowledge in this game, to know when your opponent gets a third. It seems this Gatling gun's going to get lured to the tower if he isn't careful. One shot ahead of Mr. Pankakka, so MateTheyGrey would win in a 1v1 with those Gatling guns. Only one worker being made from MateTheyGrey though. Mr. Pankakka's being much more on top of his worker production. And one Gatling's going into two potentially. We do see the Gatling speed upgrade going, and a second mill, with another mill coming from Mr. Pankakka. And it looks like a second mill is coming from Mr. Pankakka too. And poorly moved worker to not be able to start building both at the same time. He does have this worker still idling, not working on that. so it seems only one mill is going to be completed for right now for him. This is a good position for MateTheyGrey. It means if that Gatling wanted to retreat, which it did, it would have to go through his Gatling guns. Unfortunately, Mr. Pankakka is going to get some free shots off on those Gatling guns. We do see a gyro, 3 gyros queued up. You never want to queue more than 1 or 2 units at a time. It's just wasted gold as it's sitting in queue. I think I will be live streaming at the end of the month if we can get to 50 subs, regardless of a due date anymore. I think it would be interesting to try to do. He has finally noticed and started building the second mill. We do have a second workshop coming out right now. Mr. Pankakka is floating 500 gold, and we can see finally there's some gyros game pumped out by one of the players. Let's see here. Got some nice scouting going on here, keeping tabs, checking for a response from MateTheyGrey. Let's see the worker count for a moment here. 15 to 21. That is not good for MateTheyGrey. If you look at his income, yep, it's 200 behind. It's gonna build up over time, especially in the early game. He does have a 3rd castle on his way to finishing, but none of his bases are fully saturated. We even have an idle worker there. But there's becoming a nice little ball of gyros. And we do see an advanced workshop coming from Mr. Pankakka. Still no 3rd for him, though. And this could be the worker making the 3rd. We do see double catapults coming out to support his force, but in terms of the air, he is lagging behind MateTheyGrey significantly. We do see upgrades coming from MateTheyGrey, though, which is good for him. We see a second advanced workshop coming out here. I do not like the placement of Mr. Pankakka's workshop here. Depending where he has the rally, the Gatling, or rather the ballista might spawn over here and be trapped unless he has an airship to move it out of that little hole. It's not very good placement on him. We got maybe too many workers being transferred over to his new base. Let's look at the unit count here for a second. 7 to 4 for gyros, and the advantage of MateTheyGrey. No worker production though, and nothing's being done with the finished advanced factory. Right now the population is 45 to 66 in favor of Mr. Pankakka. He is still having a huge worker lead with almost double at this point, despite getting a 3rd a little bit later. Both players are not making workers, and both are floating about 500 right now. We're about to see some gyro harassment on Mr. Pankakka's part. He is going to be able to kill at least 1 or 2 workers with this if MateTheyGrey doesn't respond in time. Neither player has considered getting a 4th yet, and both players aren't being very efficient with their golds. A worker is going to be focused down and killed by Mr. Pankakka. A 2nd worker could be killed. It could have been, but he decided to back off. It looks like a 4th is being made by MateTheyGrey, and it's going to be scouted, no less. Not very good for Mate, but he's going to be able to chase these down. Mr. Pankakka currently does not have anything in production, while Mate has 2 upgrades going. He should really be building workers behind this. He's still behind by 13 workers. A very significant amount. And he's going to be able to start repairing his gyros. This is just going to end poorly if Mate can't do something about this. He does not want to fight over the worker line, where he's just going to have all of those gyros be repaired. He needs to get out of there. And he's going to take damage as he's retreating. It's 7 to 5 right now with 2 more gyros on the way from MateTheyGrey. And we have another mill on its way as well. Mr. Pankakka seems he's going up north. He's trying to deal damage to this little expansion up top. And he's definitely going to be able to kill that lone worker. Only 3 gyros going to fight those 5. But those 5 are not focusing down the worker, and now that worker is going down. Still nothing's being made by Mr. Pankakka though. No more gyros coming out from MateTheyGrey, unfortunately. He needs to get more going. A worker's about to be finished to work on that tower. Floating 900 gold now, getting a 4th castle and 2 houses. He still has way too much gold in the bank. Mr. Pankakka has to be doing something with it. He might have the income lead by about double, but if he can't spend his monies all for naught. A 67 pop to 69. Currently 2 forges being made by Mr. Pankakka. We still have upgrades pumping out from Mate, and his 3rd mill rather, just finished, so he should be able to get 3 gyros out at a time. Finally we see ballistas coming out, which is going to be great. It's going to completely stop the gyro-focused builds MateTheyGrey is going for. Again, he needs to start making more workers. He might have 4 castles, but he needs to be mining efficiently from those 4 castles. He is also very much so supply blocked. He should be making more than 2 houses right now. In the meantime, Mr. Pankakka, I don't know what he's trying to do with these workers. I guess he sent them all to work in that one house. But he's still floating 1,500 gold. Never a good thing. A bird scout. What a meme by MateTheyGrey. He knows that there are gyros, yet he's still insisting on sending a bird scout in. I suppose a benefit of this is he's going to be able to scout the ballista if it decides to turn in. It does not seem like it's going to turn in. We got a nice wall coming up from Mr. Pankakka though, stopping any kind of catapult sneaky behavior up here. Something I like to do is I would break into these these animal testing labs with about 3 catapults, sneak them over to here if they don't have buildings blocking it. 2 or 3 catapult shots to the worker lines here, there goes 7 workers. A lot of people don't have scouting up on this ridge. That's something to think about. We got 9 gyros down here to face 6 if they come up this way, but they do have support of a tower and workers to repair them. We got a whole bunch more up here. Another 9 with 2 more on the way. Double airships coming from Mr. Pankakka. I don't know if that was a mistake, if he meant to do gyros instead. We do have an idle worker. If he meant to do ballistas rather. He still does not have any upgrades, but he does have 2 damage upgrades on the way. Same with MateTheyGrey. He does not have splash on his ballistas yet though. That could be very detrimental. Up top, there is currently a battle going on. There's only 2 gyros left for MateTheyGrey. I'm not sure quite how many he lost there. Presuming he had 6 over there, he lost 4. We do see another workshop coming. I don't like the placement of this, because it makes it very hard for him to move units between here. So if there's any kind of drop up top, it's going to be very hard for him to try to reinforce that at this point. Again, huge upgrade advantage for MateTheyGrey. He just needs to push and deal damage and get more workers going. 21 to 38. Very not good for MateTheyGrey. And Mr. Pankakka is still floating 2,000, almost 500 gold. But he's starting to get upgrades. He's getting a 3rd forge. He is getting the splash upgrade as well. He does have an idle forge. Something to point out. No player has gone a 5th base yet. Both their mains should be running fairly low. Yep. Mr. Pankakka's mine's about to run out. Usually they run out around 13:45. We do see a 3rd mill coming from Mr. Pankakka. I'm not sure what Mate's trying to do here with this worker. No other towers coming up top. He is slowly making some more workers, but it's not going to be enough if he can't continue this. 19 gyros to 13, except the 3 ballista there will make the difference. And it seems that Mr. Pankakka is going to use an airship to help maneuver his ballista into battle against Mate's gyros. 2 ballista splash shots will absolutely destroy Mate's gyro army, especially since gyro tend to clump up like this. 2 ballista shots there would bring them down to the red very easily. And all of these workers and gyros are about to get killed. They have almost no chance of surviving this. We do have 4-2 upgrades from MateTheyGrey. No upgrades currently going. Mr. Pankakka has to focus down these damage dealers before he loses units. So many gyros, all about to die. Let's see just how many kills these ballistas can get. They don't get too many kills. Only one gets their splash off after they stop clumping together. These gyros are dying left and right because of that. Miss Micro on Mr. Pankakka's part. He needs to be more vigilant about them. 20 to only 4. Miss Micro on Mr. Pankakka's part will cause severe damage to him. He needs to get these workers over here defending this. He needs to get that ballista secured. It's only able to deal 3 because they're not bunched up. We do have reinforcements coming from MateTheyGrey in the form of ground units pushing in to help try to kill Mr. Pankakka's army. The ballista goes down. The catapults are going down. The Gatling guns are going down. This base is dead. There's not much Mr. Pankakka can do in response here. Mr. Pankakka is still floating 3,500 golds. He's not being able to do enough with it. If he used his splash more effectively when dealing with those gyros, he would have been able to kill them, but unfortunately he wasn't paying enough attention, and that's going to be game. With units that move as quickly as gyros move, you have to be extremely careful with how you go about monitoring them. If you're gonna do a poke like that, you have to be watching that and being ready for the response. He had the right units in the right places. He had enough to counter. He just needed to do 2 things. Try to get Mate to bundle up his gyros to one spot, and then use his own gyros to shield the ballista, so Mate wouldn't be able to focus fire the ballista. Besides that, well played from both players. They definitely need to work on macro. MateTheyGrey has to work on building enough workers to saturate each base. Mr. Pankakka has to work on spending his money better. He's floating 5,000 in the end here. Both players need to work on their map control and expansion a little bit more, along with micro. But beyond that, nice job. If you guys liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, comment. And again, if you want to see more of these community videos, feel free to send your replays to me on Discord with a short description of who was in it and roughly what happened. This is Hobo, signing off.